The Saudi Pro League is going through some growing pains at the moment as their biggest star has taken exception to the transfer of one of his former teammates. Surely you read somewhere that Cristiano Ronaldo went on strike, that he refused to play for Al Nassr in their match on Monday, February 2nd, and before that Karim Benzema told Al-Ittihad that he wouldn't play for them again, and he sat out 2 matches in a row. Well, both of these rebellions are linked together now, and they are the product of the strange ownership structure that kicked off Saudi Arabia's football quest. So why did Benzema go on strike? Why is Ronaldo upset? And how has the ownership situation in Saudi Arabia made things very awkward and rife with conspiracy theories amongst the big four? Well, things will be changing in Saudi Arabia when it comes to ownership very soon. Now, you could argue that this problem goes back further, because the big crux of it all is that there is seemingly some favoritism in the opinions of some, but Karim Benzema joined Al-Ittihad in the summer of 2023, and things have been rocky from the jump, mixed with some smooth sailing in between. There were apparently tensions between himself and the club just months after signing. Then in January of 2024, there were rumors abound that Al-Ittihad had blocked Benzema from returning to Europe, and now this. The most recent bump in the road between Benz and the club has been his latest contract offer from them. Well, from the league's public investment fund, I should say. Now, Karim Benzema's contract with Al-Ittihad was due to expire in June of 2026, and the offer that they gave him was apparently pretty insulting. And honestly, I agree that it's a bit disrespectful if the rumors are true. According to many sources, the deal that was offered to him would mean that Benzema would be playing for free. No salary paid out to him, and his compensation would come entirely from image rights. It was an ambitious move from the club, and Benzema apparently felt disrespected. I would as well. It comes across as the club having a low opinion of the guy, that they don't even offer a salary. Clearly they knew that he wouldn't take kindly to that kind of contract offer. Even if he is turning 39 this year, he can clearly be an effective player in the league. He has 16 goals from 21 appearances this season, 25 from 33 last season, that went along with his 9 assists. Now, in response to that offer, Benzema informed the club that he wouldn't be available for selection for their upcoming matches. It requested a transfer would be made, of which another club in the league became very much interested in having him. Given they share the same ownership, for now, I imagine it didn't take long for the word to get out. The same dude that heard that he wanted to leave the club was maybe even the same dude that thought, hey, we could move him to Al-Hilal. I'm kidding, of course, I'm being a bit reductive. That would be an oversimplification of how things work in Saudi Arabia. But it is true that, as you know, the big 4 clubs are all owned by the Public Investment Fund, but we'll call it PIF throughout this video. Good old PIF. So in order to boost football in the country, as part of trying to change how the world views Saudi Arabia, PIF took over Al Ahly, Al Nassr, Al-Hilal, and Al-Ittihad, taking up a 75% stake of ownership in each of the clubs. They would be the driver behind that initial avalanche of signings in 2023, which started with Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, offering ridiculous wages that players just couldn't refuse, some of which have already left Saudi Arabia, Saint-Maximin, Henderson, Neymar, Fofana, amongst others. Now, of course, if you want to throw some gasoline on the conspiracy theory fire, then have 4 big clubs all owned by the same entity. Surely nobody will question if one club gets some favoritism, right? Well, let's check in with old Ronnie. When the rumors of Karim Benzema being linked to Al-Hilal started to take shape, this clearly pissed off Cristiano Ronaldo, who signed a new deal with Al Nassr in June of 2025, which essentially made him the God Emperor of Al Nassr, as it was rumored that he would receive an ownership stake at the club as well. Now, that tidbit really went around, and I've seen numbers from 5% to 15% ownership, which I do think is partially true, as we'll talk about the privatization of the big 4 soon in Saudi Arabia. But anyway, he also receives around 200 million euros per year in salary, which isn't too bad, but is a lot to spend on one player. Notable context here: since joining Al Nassr, Ronaldo hasn't won a single trophy in Saudi Arabia. Nothing. Not a cup, nor a league. Well, I guess the Arab Club Champions Cup, so he's won an international trophy with them, right? But Saudi Arabia has been dominated by 2 clubs of late, Al-Hilal and Al-Ittihad. Al Nassr hasn't won the league since 2019, nor the King's Cup, the domestic cup, since 2014. The last domestic trophy they won was the Saudi Super Cup in 2020. So Al-Hilal have been fairly dominant. They have also spent more on player transfers than any other club, according to these numbers from Transfermarkt that you can see on the screen now, accurate as of the time of recording this. These numbers, by the way, are for the period from 2023 to 2026, since PIF took control of the Big Four. Now, with Al Nassr spending around 224 million less than Al Hilal, this is where things get awkward, as I was saying earlier. I mean, it's not as if Al Nassr haven't signed some big players. Look at some of the players that have signed since 2023. Ronaldo, Talisca, well, he arrived earlier than Ronaldo, actually. Otavio, Sadio Mane, Aymeric Laporte, Marcelo Brozovic, Yon Duran for 77 million, and he's already gone. Seko Fofana, João Felix, Kingsley Coman, and on, all to Al Nassr. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo has been absolutely central to not just the growth of Al Nassr internationally, but the growth of football in Saudi Arabia as a whole. He brings millions and millions of his social media followers along with him, which is a ton of exposure for the league. Plus, he's also a draw for attendances in Saudi Arabia, which is really, really hit or miss. I mean, look at this headline from April 2024. Al Nassr's attendance plummets as Cristiano Ronaldo misses win over Al Fayha. So it's so clear that his presence makes a huge difference in Saudi Arabia. But Ronaldo ultimately wants to win trophies, not win growth metrics on a spreadsheet for the Saudi Pro League. And he's of the feeling that, one, Al Nassr haven't done enough in the transfer market to improve their position in the title race, and that the PIF has favored Al-Hilal over other clubs, with the rumors of Benzema going to Al-Hilal proving to be a tipping point for Ronaldo. Now, as we saw, Al-Hilal has indeed spent more on players, more than Al Nassr, even in this January window. Benzema was a free signing for Al-Hilal. No signing is ever free with signing fees, etc. But they had also spent 30 million on Mete, amongst other signings. Al Nassr, 500,000 spent on a young Iraqi talent. So not exactly a window that can compete with Al-Hilal's as far as strengthening their squad to see out the season, being ambitious with player signings. And it is for this reason that, upon hearing that how close Benzema was to joining Al-Hilal, Ronaldo vowed to sit out Al Nassr's next match, with many outlets, including Fabrizio Romano, saying that it was not due to load management or rest, that it had nothing to do with Ronaldo's absence from their match against Al Riyadh from Monday, February 2nd. It was about how PIF had been managing Al Nassr. I imagine Ronaldo would have been given assurances that despite him taking up so much money from Al Nassr annually, that they would still build out a competitive squad. I'm not sure. This is me trying to read between the lines here. Speculation alert, but I'm sure that was part of the conversation. He wants to win. And apparently this move, this rebellion or strike from Ronaldo, actually made the PIF stop and think, and Benzema's move to Al-Hilal was put on ice. For a moment, it looked as if it was completely off. But then came the complication: private ownership. So the PIF and the investment that was pumped into Saudi football as a whole was necessary in order for them to elevate themselves, to put themselves on the map of the average football enjoyer. I don't know about you, but I don't regularly watch any of the matches, but I am at least aware of what's happening in Saudi Arabian football now, so I guess that's something, right? That's a measurable change from how I was before. And none of that would have happened without the investment from the PIF, from the state ownership and investment, right? But the other side of the coin are these conspiracy theories that will crop up with all of these calls of favoritism. Now, remember when we were talking about Ronaldo receiving a stake of some sort of ownership stake in Al Nassr? Apparently this falls in line with Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 and their goal to shift the football clubs from state ownership to private ownership through corporate investment. We've seen other clubs in the Saudi Pro League be bought up. Al Kholoud club was even purchased through a foreign company, an American company. Another club that is heading toward private ownership and will have a very wealthy owner soon, Al-Hilal. This is where the Benzema situation becomes a bit outside of PIF's control. You see, the transfer of Al-Hilal's ownership from PIF to Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, who Forbes claim is the richest Arab prince with about $16.5 billion to his name, and this deal is due to be finalized soon. It's all but finally confirmed, and when it is, then it will mark the first full private acquisition of one of the big four in Saudi Arabia. Prince Al-Walid has already indirectly contributed funds to Al-Hilal as he funds the nonprofit that owns 25%, so him taking over completely seems natural and allows him to use his own funds to finalize a deal such as Karim Benzema. Sasha Tavolieri highlighted this as the PIF temporarily didn't sanction Benzema's move to Al-Hilal, only for Prince Al-Walid to essentially say, I don't care if you guys don't cough up the cash, I will pay for Benzema then. Al Nassr doesn't have a Prince Al-Walid or an equivalent of their own, so they are almost entirely reliant upon PIF, and this shifting of ownership structures could lead to more unhappiness with Ronaldo. With Al-Hilal much further along in their journey to private ownership and backed by the alleged richest Arab prince, Ronaldo could be knocking on PIF's door quite a bit this summer if transfers don't strengthen their squad. But hey man, aren't you going to be part owner? That 200 million euros per year in salary could go a long way in the transfer window. That is, if he sticks around. Hello, alternate Adrian checking in here with an update that I feel like it had to be included because maybe you saw, maybe you didn't, but the headlines just keep on rolling out that Cristiano Ronaldo is so unhappy. He wants to potentially leave Al Nassr this summer, leave Saudi Arabia, and one headline even pointed to a 50 million euro buyout clause, which I think it would be tough to find a team that would pay for that. Unless it's like a league that will pay for that, like MLS or something. Now, one of the only reasons why I really bring this up, well, first of all, that first headline that came out from Record. Now, the interesting thing about that is who owns Record or part of Record? Cristiano Ronaldo, through his 30% stake in a media conglomerate type thing called Media Livre, with the French pronunciation, even though it's Portuguese. My bad, but you know, I see livre. I live in French Canada. Hey. And then on Wednesday, February 4th, Cristiano Ronaldo did indeed return to training with Al Nassr. He posted something on Instagram. There was no caption for what he posted. I don't follow him that closely on Instagram. Maybe he does that all the time. I don't know. But there is a lot of speculation that he could still refuse to play in their next match, which I believe is on Friday against Al-Ittihad. So we'll see. Anyways, guys, a different one here today, a look into Saudi Arabia. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll catch you soon with another video. Later, guys.